Okay, trying again. Says we're live. So, what I'm going to say is to follow up on that last thought was no matter what kind of practice you have for your own sense of the sacred, whether you're, Christian or pagan or Jewish or Islamic or Buddhist, it doesn't really have anything to do with being able to develop these four immeasurable qualities: the loving kindness for yourself, the same to all living creatures, compassion for yourself, the same to all living creatures. And then this kind of established feeling, inner feeling, a warm glow, we say sorrowless bliss, the happiness that knows no sadness, that happiness that knows no suffering. Um, those are the four immeasurables. And the fourth is this sense of equanimity, so that we share them equally with everybody. We don't discriminate. We don't say some are worthy and some are unworthy. And these days, that's really important because there's so much divisiveness and there's so much duality floating around that to just feel concern for one's group against another, it's not a healthy way to live. We have to hold in our hearts the wish that all beings, how wonderful if all beings had happiness and its causes, how wonderful if all beings were free from suffering and its causes, how wonderful if all beings could live with the feeling of equanimity, the wish that there would be no holding some close, having aversion or hatred towards others, and forgetting about all the rest. Um, and that's the equality or equanimity. And then these lead to the fourth immeasurable, the sorrowless bliss. And so a couple of the questions ahead of time were around how to deal with the challenges these days of racism, of nationalism, sexism, of all these kinds of topics that create so much inner turmoil. So the best way to deal with them, the only way to deal with them, and the only place to deal with them is in our own mind, our own inner work. As one of my teachers would say, the real workshop is inside. And so that's why in Buddhism we practice with meditation, we practice with these four immeasurables, developing the loving kindness, the compassion, equanimity, sorrowless bliss. It brings us joy to do our practice for not only our own benefit, for the benefit of all beings. And we ask for the strength to be able to benefit until samsara is finished. Samsara is this idea of all the beings that are living in the causes and conditions created because of ignorance, because of selfishness and desire, attachments, and because of hatred and anger. So those lead only to suffering. And so in our practice, our dedication, first our intention is to create these four qualities immeasurably. So just like sentient beings, human beings are almost 8 billion, but all life forms are far more than that, uncountable, immeasurable. We'd like these qualities to likewise develop immeasurably through space and time, beyond space and time, and to remain so that these wonderful traits could be experienced and shared by all mother beings. And so often in the West, we think of compassion to be something that we have to do, that we have to, be compassionate for the sake of others. We have to do compassionate activities for the sake of others. But actually, compassion, cultivating the quality of compassion, as I was saying, Gandhiji worked with these two themes of ahimsa and karuna, non-harming and compassion. And just sitting in meditation is one of the most compassionate things you can do. You're not out saving the world. You're not out trying to solve the world's problems. You're not even out necessarily marching in the streets or doing anything outwardly. There's nothing wrong with wanting to help others by doing good projects or showing up to express your opinions and to go and protest when you feel that there's a need for that. But the compassion the Buddha was talking about, when the Buddha was developing compassion, he left his whole society and his role as a would-be king to be a ruler, and he went off by himself to develop his insights, working, for 6 years very deeply to work on the inner view of how to develop all of these qualities, because these qualities are only found within each of us. Loving kindness is only found within our own heart, and compassion is only found within our own heart. And the wish to be in living without discrimination is only something in our own, I say, our heart mind, our own consciousness, our own intention. This is only found within. This isn't found without. Even if we meet enlightened beings, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, or Jetsuma Tenzin Palmola, or my own teacher, His Eminence Kensor Rinpoche, Lobsang Setenle, they're already there, but they can't give us that. They can't, whip up a magical drink and then we take it down and then all of a sudden we get their qualities. Not at all. And they couldn't do that when they met their teachers. They had to develop and evolve these qualities through their own practice. And so that's why we call it practice. The same way, if we're an athlete, like when I played sports when I was young, and wanted to develop those qualities to have a great layup or to make a jump shot or to make my free throws, we had to practice many, many hours. Same way, someone wants to be a great musician, have to practice many, many hours. Doing your scales at the piano or practicing your frets on the guitar. You just have to put in the work, and it's a lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of slogging. Like we do lots of different kinds of practices here at the nunnery. We do prostrations. We do months and months of meditation, silent meditation retreat. We do hours and hours. Yesterday we did 4 hours of ritual practice in the temple, of prayer, of silence, of chanting, of dedicating. So there's training. If you want to be the best at anything, you have to train. You have to discipline yourself. You have to go in. And you have to do all the work that no one sees you doing, but it's up to you. You do it because it brings you satisfaction, not because, as Jetsuma would say, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas line up and say, oh, how wonderful, how wonderful. You're not doing it for any kind of external reward. The reward is the fourth immeasurable, what's called the sorrowless bliss. The reward is that if you're truly developing these four immeasurables, infinite loving kindness, infinite compassion, with total equanimity, your own mind, your own heart mind, your inner workshop is becoming a beautiful, wonderful, fragrant garden of nirvana, of non-abiding nirvana. Your mind is completely happy, your body's completely pacified, your speech is kind and friendly because your inner quality of your mind, your heart, your mood, your emotion is completely at peace. This is called, the third noble truth is that there is nirvana. There is a way out of suffering. Suffering arises because we are caught by the poisons of selfishness, of ignorance, of hatred, of selfish pride, egoic pride, of jealousy. These things do not lead to happiness. They do not lead to lasting inner compassion and inner joy. And so we do the work. I mean, frankly, it's a lot of work, but it's worth it, because no matter how much you do work out in the world to earn money, you could always lose your job. No matter how much you do the work out in the world to change the politics, something else can always happen. It goes like that for 4 years or 8 years, and it goes like this for 4 years or 8 years. It's up and down. It's completely impermanent, which was the second noble truth. The Buddha said the first noble truth is there is suffering. Why is there suffering? Because things change. They're impermanent by their nature. Everything's flowing very quickly like a river. And what we're always trying to do is just stop it and set it so that we can have it perfect. And, we can't do that. Life is a flow. It's a dance. And so, if we're dancing nicely, then that's great. And we feel, oh, wonderful, I'm skillful. I know the moves. I've got the moves. I've got the rhythm, but the beat changes, and then we don't know the moves, and we don't have a rhythm, and something like COVID-19 pops up, and no one sees that one coming, and then everyone scrambles, and we're not flowing, and we're not looking smooth. We're scrambling to figure out what now. So in a moment like that, stillness is the best answer. So if we've been practicing internally, cultivating qualities of our body, speech, and mind to become more pacified, more serene, more cool, more calm, more clear, then we're able to deal with unpredictable, unexpected situations. If we recognize the true nature of life, that life is very unpredictable, as my teacher always, always, so many times, more than I can tell you, in his great bass baritone voice, life is uncertainty, death is certainty. We do not know how long we have to live a life. We do not know when death is coming. What we do know is for sure death is coming. And it wasn't that he was saying this, started hearing this now 18 years ago. He wasn't saying it to be morbid. He wasn't saying it to be pessimistic. He was just saying it that it's, in the Buddhist framework, it's reality. It's the truth. And if you examine it yourself, you'll know it's the truth. We don't know how long we have to live life. We don't know how we will meet our death, but we do know at one point that we have to give up this body. We have to give up these circumstances. We have to give up this life, and something will change. In Buddhism, we believe that we take another life, and on and on and on, until we don't know when. But even if you don't share a belief in rebirth, you realistically can look at this life and say, yes, actually, it won't last forever, because so far we can't meet any one being on this planet anywhere that can say, oh, I've been alive since the beginningless time. We cannot. So that's how that is. Better just to accept it, and it makes our life now more precious. So because we know it's not going on forever, instead of panicking when something happens that's challenging, we can appreciate it more. Instead of giving up on this life, becoming depressed, becoming feelings of being overwhelmed, of feeling insecure, of feeling even suicidal, we can say, no, actually, what I need to think about is, wow, this is an opportunity to rise to the challenge of life, to see that I have inner qualities, to see that life itself has given me resources to be able to meet challenges. But the only way to understand that you can meet the challenges is to start to work with those qualities. So in Buddhism, these four immeasurable qualities of loving kindness, compassion, with equanimity equally, not just for our friends, not just for our loved ones, but also for our strangers, also for those who give us difficulties that we maybe label our enemies. Equally, everyone wants happiness, no one wants suffering. So we make that wish equally for everybody. We also see the benefit even that the difficult beings or difficult circumstances in life give us the opportunity. If we only had people saying nice things to us, how could we ever develop any kind of sense of where we need to grow? Because we're not perfect. We're not Buddhas, Bodhisattvas. If we're already completely enlightened, then we're not going to be needing to do practice, but we're just human beings. So we need difficult situations. We need disagreeable people who have other opinions that are not like ours to be able to exchange with, to learn from. Sometimes we learn more patience, and we can then, in a calm moment, share our point of view. If they're open enough, they might be able to actually accept it in that moment. But if we only get upset with them, if we only start to argue and yell back at them, we only start to blame others and make enemies out of them and say, they're wrong, I'm right, we're splitting and dividing. That's not going to make anybody happy. If we only always see things as right and wrong, good and bad, pleasure and pain, loss and gain, fame and infamy, praise and blame, these the Buddha called the 8 worldly concerns, will always be swinging back and forth, and we'll never be at peace. We'll always be grasping for what we want, for pleasure, for happiness, for satisfaction. We'll always be pushing away from the things that are difficult for us. that cause us challenges. And if we give in to those difficulties and we say, oh, I'm not up for that, or why me, why me, why me, this always happens to me, soon your me's not going to feel that easy to live with and get along with. And then these thoughts, dark thoughts of suicide or addictions or escape will arise. And there is no escape other than meeting the challenges and finding healthy ways to overcome them through the power of your own mind, through the power of your own qualities that you have, inner qualities that are naturally yours. The mind is luminous, radiant, and pure. It's strong. We say like a Vajra. A Vajra is the symbol of a thunderbolt or diamond quality that can never be broken. So this in Vajrayana practice, you can see it cannot be separated. You could say this side is wisdom, this side is compassion. You cannot break it. There's nothing stronger when these two qualities come together in your own heart mind. Nothing can overcome you. Wisdom and compassion. Doesn't matter how nasty someone's yelling at you, calling you names, threatening you. It's just sound. It's just words. You actually feel more compassion because their mind is so upset. It's not upsetting your mind. You're not taking it personally. And your loving kindness is that strong, then any situation that arises, you have confidence that you can meet the challenges of the situation. And the thing is, we have to keep things a bit more simple. I think often we're led to have high expectations that are completely unreasonable, completely unrealistic. That life should always be very easy. The temperature outside and inside should always be completely enjoyable according to how we ourselves like it. The food should always be a certain kind of food. The clothing should always feel a certain way. I mean, we have very high demands of all these sensory experiences. And in Buddhism, we say, you're just putting out all your happiness, you're putting on the outside conditions. And there's just no way that those outside conditions are always going to live up to that expectation. Whether it's you like warm weather, or you like cooler weather, or you like this kind of food and then you can't get it, or you like to hear that kind of music, but someone else is playing a different kind. That's all outer conditions. Your mind is always going to swing then between these 8. You like it, you don't like it, it's good, it's bad, it's right, it's wrong. It's totally unstable. And yet if you cultivate the mind in the inner awareness to just understand that the true peace of mind, the true qualities that are sturdy, unbreakable, like this Vajra, this Dorje, are within you. They're not outside. And the outer conditions cannot affect you at all if you develop the inner ones. It's like when I was young playing sports and we'd go to the gym when I played basketball and we had to do a lot of workouts, lifting weights. I played basketball, so we had to do a lot of sprinting up and down the court, not even with the ball, just running, doing the weights, nothing with the basketball. Shuffling the feet, moving the body in a certain way, jumping rope, nothing with the basketball. We couldn't even touch the basketball for a long time. We were just working on conditioning the body. Well, in love rising, we have to develop the love muscle. We have to develop the heart mind. We have to develop the wisdom and compassion. Those are the inner qualities. So that when we hear somebody saying something racist, something homophobic, something offensive, something aggressive, something nationalistic, we can say, oh, well, I don't really necessarily agree with that opinion, but that opinion cannot harm me. I'm not going to be offended by that opinion. I'm not going to respond with something unskillfully that creates more harm. I'm going to think about what to do skillfully in this moment. Sometimes His Holiness the Dalai Lama likes to say sometimes the best answer is silence. So someone wrote a question. What's happening? Sorry. Someone wrote a question asking about racism, someone from the States, what to do because her family is really affected by this topic and it's really disturbing her peace of mind. Well, yes, of course, no one likes to hear any hate speech at all. Nothing is good about that. No one wants it. And yet, instead of taking it that you don't like it, that I don't like to hear that, maybe in your own quiet wisdom, just think about the mind of that person saying that kind of speech. How much ignorance, how much suffering, how much confusion that person is feeling to even be saying such harmful thoughts. Showing what the speech is only showing what's on the mind, right? So you can think to yourself, I'm glad I don't have that kind of mind. I wouldn't want that kind of mind. I'm glad that I know my family, if it's racially mixed, or my friends, because, you know, here at the nunnery, I'm one of 3 white people, and the rest are brown, Indian people, or Tibetan. I never think of it this way. So the thought's not in my mind. I don't think of beings that way. I think of them as light, as beings of light. So in light, everyone's got a rainbow color, or everyone's got crystal light. Bright light, that's their real nature. And you can think like, well, that person just hasn't seen it that way yet. But instead of reacting to their negativity, which is only going to make your mind feel heavier, more defensive, more negative, in your meditation, you remind yourself, oh, I know in the heart of my heart that at our essence, all life is made. We're not just of this earth, we're in space. And whatever came to develop this earth beyond the elements, we all have this essence of light. You know, in Buddhism, our goal is enlightenment. In Christianity, people say Jesus brings the light. I don't know in the other traditions how it's framed as much, but I'm sure that in every sacred tradition, you talk about light being that which illuminates. So if you have a dark room, say the dark room is where we can't see things. If we can't see things, we say we're in the dark. We actually have that expression in English, I'm in the dark. You cannot see. People who are trapped by ignorance are in the dark. But as soon as light comes on, aha, you can see everything. So eventually they will see, geez, I'm only judging people based on their outer skin. I'm not thinking about that's not really their person. But their mind is just, you know, that's where their mind is right now. Of course, it's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. But it can change, and it will change. I don't know when, but I do know how. The first how is by you not making it worse for them, not fighting with them, not arguing with them, but may they be happy, may they be free. And by keeping silent, sometimes you may just create a little moment, a little opportunity for that person to have a change of heart, to have a change of mind. So last year, or 2 years ago, I was teaching at Tosamling Nunnery, teaching some meditation course, and it was during the protest in, I think it was in North Carolina in the States, or in Virginia, sorry, I'm not sure where, but where there was the big protest on the streets, and the young woman was actually killed. Someone drove the car through the crowd. And it was really about race, and these two sides facing off against each other. And one story came at the end of the weekend that someone who was part of the Shamatha weekend had heard, which was at the end of this protest, a white man and a black man were walking past each other. The white man had been yelling racial slurs against the black man. The black man just stopped and looked at the white man and was quietly in his presence and said to him, "Brother, why do you hate me so much?" And in that moment, it was just the right moment, the white man said, "I really don't." He said, "Well, if you don't hate me, why are you saying these things?" And that white man kind of broke down and cried and said, "I really don't know why." and I'm sorry. And they hugged it out. Now, is it going to happen all the time like that? No, I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying that was one mind that slowly got changed. Because there was peace, because there was patience, because there was a wise question. Instead of meeting hatred with hatred and anger with anger, there was what Gandhiji advocated for: ahimsa, non-violence, non-harm. There was karuna from the side of the African American man saying, look, I'm going to show compassion and just ask this question: why do you hate me so much? And he personalized it. And so it made it very difficult in that moment for that other person to continue to just follow the crowd. But unfortunately, human beings, especially in times of uncertainty like we're in right now, it's very easy to follow the crowd. It's very tempting to follow the crowd, to whip up people's fear, to whip up their anxiety. It's very unfortunate. Surely it is. But because of people's own ignorance, it's often what happens. Out of their own fear, out of their own insecurity, out of their own very weak ego. Anyone who leads this way, who's using these kinds of issues, is working from duality. So we're looking for unity. We're looking for harmony. So for our own practice, we have to find that within our own heart of hearts first. We have to find that within our own minds. And this is why we practice. This is why, for us as Buddhist practitioners, we follow the Dharma and the Buddha, because the Buddha found these practices, found that they're effective. Tashi Dele. Hello. And this is why we want to encourage others, not necessarily to be Buddhists, that's not the goal, but to develop qualities as good human beings, even in the secular way. So much of what we practice as Buddhist monastics has really nothing to do with any kind of pujas or rituals or prayers or mantras. Yes, we can do that, and we can do that personally, and we should continue, because that's why we're monastics. But the practices themselves are so beneficial just on a human level, just as human beings that can look at this even as philosophy or just as good common sense. If we want happiness, let's develop it so strongly in our own heart that we can meet any circumstances with confidence, loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, from a place of sorrowless bliss, because if we're there, then no one's hatred is going to harm us. We're going to be able to respond with a very cool head, a very warm heart, and a very genuine, wide open armed approach. And we can see this in action. We have His Holiness the Dalai Lama to show us. We have the Karmapa. We have many, many ordinary nuns and monks, brothers and sisters around us. And we have good friends and family, just as human beings, who have forgiven us in the past when we've made mistakes. They've extended their love to us when we've hurt their feelings. They've continually shown us the power of love and trust. And we can continue to grow those in our own hearts, in our own small circles, extending them out as we're able to. It's very important just as human beings right now. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been saying secular, not just secular ethics, which yes, of course, we need the body, speech, and mind to be very clean, clear. And we need inner hygiene. His Holiness is calling this inner hygiene. So for those who are not following Buddhism, but just think, well, a lot of masters, a lot of traditions, or a lot of guides and teachers, even if you're doing martial arts, the teacher, the sensei will say, first you have to control your own inner, your biggest enemy is yourself. It's true. We have to control from the inside, our body, our speech, and our mind. And mostly in Buddhism, this starts with the mind. If the mind is in control, speech and body, no problem. So the mind's feeling clean, clear, happy, calm. Then the body, the speech, coming right along. So we're always working with body, speech, and mind. That's where the mind is developing the four immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, equality, and sorrowless bliss. These are all happening inside. Well, when they happen inside, then the body, very healthy, feels very fit, very comfortable, relaxed. Speech, very kind, very calm. Actually, even you feel speech gets overrated, so very easy to stay in noble silence. And that means if you practice noble silence, if somebody says something very harmful or unskillful to you, your mind is happy not to respond. It can just accept it like a wave in the ocean washing over us. It comes and it goes. We don't have to engage. And that's why we use this, image of the Vajra. It cannot be broken. The wisdom and compassion. Nothing more powerful in the whole universe than bringing those together indestructibly. Adamantine, like a diamond. This is like just an outer symbol for these qualities that we all have within us, right? You don't have to have a haircut like this or wear some robes. You have these qualities within you. You can develop them. And we can develop them endlessly. So this is what we want for Love Rising, meaning we keep working on them day in and day out. We never get bored. We feel more and more joy, actually. The greater our love is coming, the bigger our heart is growing, the stronger and more open our mind is becoming. How wonderful. In Buddhism, we say all the way up to enlightenment. Or until every last sentient being is free from the waves of the pounding suffering of samsara, of the realm of suffering. That realm is created from ignorance, from selfish desire, and from hatred. So until those qualities are free from all beings' minds, that's what our job description is. That's how we know we're going to be able to remain. We don't feel despair when the world gets very difficult like this. We feel like, aha, it's a chance. Now, because things are harder and more dark, our light can grow stronger and more bright. We can rise to this occasion, keeping our light shining like a beacon, like a lighthouse. So where I live in Maine is on the coast of the ocean. And so on the coast of the ocean, there are big rocks, and there are many boats that are coming across the sea, across the Atlantic. And in order not to hit the land, the people from a long time ago, hundreds of years ago, they built lighthouses. In the olden days, they used to use fire to send a signal that would show the boats, hey, look, land ho, you're close to the land. Don't come too close or your boat will smash against the rocks. So the lighthouse is like showing an edge, showing danger. And it's also a guide that's showing through signals, giving messages. Now they're all kind of hooked up to computers and big bright lights are coming, but giving signals so that the boats know where they need to go. And in our Dharma practice, we can be a little bit like a lighthouse for the beings who are still in samsara. We can shine our light and say, look, samsara is dangerous. Ignorance is dangerous. Hatred is dangerous. Selfish desire and attachment is dangerous. They don't lead to happiness. We know it. So how do we find lasting happiness? Where do we need to look instead of looking outward, looking inward? Then looking inward, our own light will start to illuminate, and we'll find that we have these qualities of loving kindness. Naturally, every living heart has these qualities. We have the seed of these wonderful qualities by virtue of being human beings. We have compassion. We have sorrowless joy, and we can experience giving those to ourselves first, giving them out in equanimity, not just to all human beings, but to all life forms. And when we do this, because in our own experience and experiment of living these qualities, we see more and more happiness comes, more and more joy, more and more compassion, then more and more healthy life. Wonderful. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to continue to keep growing these qualities endlessly? And so this is love rising. So we have to let it rise from within. It flows up so much from within, it kind of spills and shares like I'm sharing now with whomever is out there. I see only one name, my good friend Ten Lakpala, Tashdele, but it says some other people are watching, and maybe I'll just leave this posted on the video feed and you'll watch it later. I won't even know who's watching it. It doesn't matter. Because if you're watching it right now, I'm doing this for you. It doesn't matter. Equally for each of you. I hope it brings you some happiness, some joy, some wisdom that you can use in your own life practice. So again, the 4 immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, equally with equanimity for everyone and everything, will lead to the sorrowless bliss. And these 4 at first you practice inside of your own heart. You can say these 4 wishes, 4 immeasurable wishes. How wonderful if all beings had happiness. May I and all beings have happiness and its causes. How wonderful if all beings are free from suffering and its causes. May I and all beings be free of suffering and its causes. How wonderful if all beings and myself could live in the joy that knows no sadness. May we all live in the joy without sadness. Just those 3. And because you're saying it for all beings, the equanimity is already in there. So you can just use that as your 3 guiding lights during your day. And if your mood starts to get funky and change, catch it. As soon as your anger is starting to come up, catch it. It might start just with a little frustration, a little irritation, but that's not peace of mind. So as soon as that little irritation comes up, catch it. Then just don't judge it, notice, take a breath, let it be, and then meet it with your 3 wishes: for the happiness, for the compassion, free of suffering, and for the sorrowless bliss. Just replace it. I'm not saying you're denying these emotions, but the more you notice the difficult ones and the ones that usually get out of hand and don't take you to that happy place, then you don't want to go to that sad place. You don't want to go to the dark place. You don't want to go to the place that brings you fear, that brings you anxiety, that brings you sadness, that brings you judgment, and, things that the Buddha called the poisons. You don't want those. We want to take those out of our mind streams. And how we take them out is by putting these antidotes in. We use these as remedies to create the positive, peaceful, wonderful qualities that help us stay living in loving kindness and peace and compassion. So this is what I have for you, my dear friends, this evening. And from here at the nunnery in Himachal Pradesh, with my sisters, we wish you a good evening. The one thing I'll also leave you with is a funny story. It's a little parable called the Parable of the Dog Nose. A Lama friend of mine told this to one of my sisters, one of my ordination sisters, and he said in one of his teachings, human beings, we're all a bit like dogs. When we get taken to a beautiful green park, the first thing we do, there are beautiful flowers, beautiful trees, green shrubs, green grass, fresh water. We kind of get to the park, and we could go to any of these. We could go running up to the flower garden. We could go into the trees. We could go to the green shrubs or go roll on the green grass. But what do most dogs do? Where do they go? You guessed it. They start sniffing the doggy doo-doo on the ground. Or there's another dog, and they go sniffing underneath the dog's tail. You watch dogs, what they do the next time. They go and they put their nose in the least attractive places. And he called this the dog nose. And he said human beings also have this dog nose. Instead, when we're with a group of people, or we're in a beautiful place, or we're even just in our room or at home on our own, we have no one shooting at us, we have food in our fridge, we're not starving, we have plenty of clothing to wear. We have kind of a dog nose. We kind of see what's wrong. We go looking to smell what's stinky about life instead of rejoicing with what's beautiful and what's lovely and what's pleasant. So let's not have a dog nose. And same with human beings. Often a human being comes in front of us, and instead of seeing their qualities, oh, they're very kind. Oh, they're very generous. Oh, they're always very peaceful. Oh, they're very quiet. We don't see their positive or even their neutral qualities. Often our mind is very like a dog nose. It goes right for the doo-doo, caca, and we find what's wrong with them, and we criticize. Oh, and he's always like that, and she's always like this, and why do they always yada, 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 yada? That's the dog nose. Don't have a dog nose, my dear friends. We have a good human capacity with our wisdom and our loving hearts to find and to always point our minds towards seeing the and rejoicing, very important. Not only not have the dog nose, but rejoice. See the good qualities in those beings. See that they want also, like you want happiness, they want happiness. See that like you like to receive compassion and forgiveness, they also need your compassion and forgiveness. See that if they could always be in sorrowless bliss, like you would like to always have sorrowless bliss, your criticism is not going to put them in sorrowless bliss, and it's not putting you in sorrowless bliss, is it? So use your wisdom and watch your own mind. Where is it gravitating? Is it going towards seeing qualities? Going towards the flower garden in the park? Going to the green grasses? Going to the nice, lovely trees? Sniffing what's lovely and pure? Or is it going towards the caca, towards where we would never want to put our nose, under the dog's tail? Our mind is like that. You check up, you see, I'm telling you a story or not. I know because I have dog nose. I've worked on it. But if you're honest, you'll say you have it too. But we can change it. That's the good news. Can change. So we have a lot of practice these days. You know, we have a lot of practice with the beings who are suffering from their ignorance, attachment, and aversion that can create some challenge and some opportunity. How is our dog nose? Can we still see their Buddha nature? They still wish to have the happiness and causes of happiness. Can we genuinely ourselves, from our heart of hearts, still wish for them to have the happiness and causes of happiness? That's how we practice. That's how, instead of in basketball, when we did running up and down the court and had to do drills, in Buddhism or in your spiritual sacred practice, this is how we practice. We see in our own mind, heart, where we can still grow. And then we practice. Then slowly, slowly, we don't have dog nose anymore. Then we can help others with their dog nose. Instead of getting angry and saying to them, don't be so judgmental, we can say, oh, my friend, you know, you can tell them the parable of the dog nose. Don't go to the park and put your nose somewhere unpleasant. Go and look for the lovely qualities. So, you know, keep it simple. Keep it humorous. We've got to keep it light. You know, we're striving for enlightenment, so we have to keep it in that direction. Try to let be. Try to let go. And one of my favorite teachings of the Buddha is, in the end, what matters most is how well did you live, how well did you love, how well did you learn to let go. Let go means letting go of our selfishness, our judgments, our attachments, and cultivating our qualities, and then letting those go out also, just letting them go freely into this great Buddhaverse, universe world. And yeah, thank you. Nice to see my friends, some who have tuned in, maybe not many watching right now, but I don't see you. I see your comments, but I'm just going to say hi to everybody. And we're really, thank you. Huge rejoicing back. Huge rejoicing back. And this, you know, these are the best times. I said in the earlier part of the video, in my life experience, when there's been difficulties, these are the absolute best times to grow our inner qualities. When things coast along too smoothly, if everything's going too nicely, too well, we don't maybe practice as much. We don't see the need to practice these qualities as much. But when things get difficult, we go, oh yeah, definitely there's a big need. We have to practice. And so for my, you know, my Dharma brothers who are tuned in now, of course, Chaksarlo, I'm happy and rejoice that you're on your path. And here at the nunnery, there's so many young nuns. I'm so happy to rejoice in that many, especially Indian citizens these days from the Himalaya regions and from Nepal and from Bhutan are entering into the monasteries and nunneries from Ladakh and Kinnoor and Spiti. And they're keeping the Buddha Dharma, especially in the Vajrayana tradition, alive. And that's just so important. And of course, I'm so grateful to my own teachers, to His Holiness the Great Incomparable 14th Dalai Lama, and to His Eminence Kensor Rinpoche Lobsang Setenle, and to Her Holiness Jetsuma Tenzin Palmola. Without our teachers, we'd be lost. So we have to always remember, without teachers, the teaching doesn't remain in a pure way. And so beings are giving their whole life to these teachings of loving kindness, peace, compassion, and how wonderful that is. So I rejoice that we're doing this, and rejoice in all beings. Every being has merits, not just human beings and not just Buddhists or not just followers of religion, but every being has merits and good qualities. So let's rejoice in all of those merits and good qualities, and we'll keep away from the dogmas. So thank you, my dear friends. I think that's all I have for now, and hope that this video or these two videos will offer something to qualify your practice, to continue encouraging beyond all of the confusion that may be feeling a bit overwhelming these days. And, you know, stay light at heart and breathe peace. Rejoice. Thank you so much. Big Tashi delay for now. And I will try again next Sunday. I think it's a little difficult. This feed seems better, so maybe I'll start a little bit later. But anyway, I appreciate your precious time, and I hope that this brings you some deep feeling good jujus and good vibrations. Take good care.